Oh, yeah. Let's.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can sync everything.
Is this how you do it? That's not how you do it?
Roll sound.
And sync. Yes.
Okay, everybody. We are back. It's the Freestyle Boys with a very special episode and a special guest. Casey Patterson, everybody. I mean, he's from some obscure sport.
Insert cheering crowd noise. Go.
Yeah.
But it's a lot more of a serious sport than pickleball, so maybe some of you do know him. American professional volleyball player. I did a little bit of research. I found that you were something player and team of the year in 2013, which seemed pretty legitimate. I don't know the acronyms, but that was pretty good.
That's what it says on the plaque. Something.
Yeah,
There's
very good.
a plaque somewhere that says something about you.
Yeah.
Some championship wins in the Volleyball Pro Tour, Olympian in 2016, and now a pickleball enthusiast. So, Casey, we're happy to have you. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So good to be here. I'm glad you guys got to come to my office, though. I'm glad you met me here.
This is
Yes.
oh, wow. You know what? I like
16th Street.
I like where we're at.
We're just getting a quick lesson from Coach.
Ben. Good
Ben's
God.
going to jump in.
Good God.
It's
Listen,
there's
Ben,
volleyball courts and there's an ocean.
So
I like those things.
Ben, I wasn't really good when I started playing, and there were things that motivated me to get good, and now you're understanding why.
He's going to quit pickleball now.
Yeah,
I get it. Right. Why am I playing pickleball, man?
Yeah. What am I doing here, Harry? There it is, the first quote.
And he still
doesn't know the movie.
Movie quotes. Movie quotes.
Who has not
please.
seen Dumb and Dumber?
Me?
Yeah.
I have not.
Oh,
Insanity. That's
So
on the
sad.
list this week. Watch it.
Oh, gosh. Okay, well, so Casey and I met with a mutual spikeball friend, Preston. Gosh, we should have him as a guest at some point, too, because what a character.
Well, Casey.
Yeah, please give
how I
us
met
your
Preston.
intro
How you
to
met
Preston.
yes. Okay. I'm playing pickleball. Probably got smashed. I got to go help the wife with dinner and all the kids. And I walk by, and this dude's like, "Hey, are you Casey Patterson?" And it's this kid sitting down on the floor against the fence, like waiting with his paddle up. And I'm like, "What?" And he stands up, and he's like, "Let me just cut to the chase here. I'm the #1 spikeball player in the world." And I'm like, "Wow, dude!" I immediately cut him off. Dude, I love this intro because I'm already excited to talk to you. Like, I hate when they play it cool. Like, just tell me right off the bat, dude.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
a baller.
Yeah.
Like, this is sick. No, I'm like, "What sport?" No, I'm just kidding. I was like, "Oh yeah, dude, that's rad." He's like, "Look, I love playing pickleball. Let's start playing. I might be doing something with Ben Johns in the future. Would you love to maybe come play? Because I want to do something similar with you on the beach, the combo of the two sports." And I'm like, "Dude, that would be insane." And so he texted me the day before he went with you guys up in Santa Barbara, and I'm like, "I'm there. I'm going." And that's when we met at this random dude's mansion overlooking all of Southern California.
This is the most random connection. We all just show up. We're all just like, "Oh, okay, cool." Here we are.
Dude, the path to the guy's court. I was like, wait, is this real life?
This is silly.
I'm like, dude, we're walking through Narnia. I'm like, what's happening?
And then it all just clears.
Yeah.
And there's this magnificent
With an ambiance of
there's
music.
California.
Dude, seriously, it was insane. Yeah, so that's how we met.
Yeah, it was a good intro. And
You gonna start introing yourself like that?
Yeah.
Not like that. Just as I'm Ben Johns. I'm the #1 pickleball player.
Yes,
Oh my
exactly.
gosh.
Yeah.
I just love his just right to it.
Yeah.
Just no shame, no nothing. It's just I'm just gonna call it what it is.
Yeah,
and
just-
if you don't like it, oh well.
Then cool, I guess we're not hanging out. You're like, all right, dude, I love it. I know where we are.
Anybody that starts a sentence off with "I'm just gonna cut to the chase," it's gonna be good. I don't care
never
what I don't care what comes next. It's gonna be good.
It's never bad.
Yeah.
So today, I always try to have a general script of things. That's why I have this, and I usually just put it away eventually because inevitably we go off on tangents, and I have a feeling this is going to be no different. But I feel like it's an obligatory question to always ask people. I feel like we've been asked this 1,000 times, but how'd you get into pickleball and why? Because people just like to hear it.
Yeah, I wish I could have said I was watching it live on the PPA tour, and you
Inspired
bageled
me.
Jay
Inspired
11-0 in the third set during the singles finals. I wish that's when I started. I was like a little kid with my, crisscross applesauce legs, just like, one day I'm going to be pro. This guy just beat this French dude 11-0.
It makes me want to play pickleball.
I want to play pickleball forever.
We'll send this to Jay afterwards.
Yeah,
So
good.
we'll
I actually right now have a ball signed by him in my bag because I went and did something in Newport before. That's why I wanted to heckle him on this show.
Oh, yeah.
Give him a hard time. No, I played during COVID because they took all the nets down. All our nets here, all the way up to where I live, they were all pulled down.
Oh.
And they were arresting people that were going even surfing.
Oh, really?
They were pulling
They're
them out of the
arresting
water.
people.
Pulling them out of the water.
Oh
And so you could play in our area, Ventura County, you could play tennis and you could play pickleball.
Huh.
And I was like, pickleball? the game that my grandpa said he played, you know, and that's all. And then the name was always kind of goofy. You're like, oh, no, okay. So we go, and there's like this group of parents and couples in our area. They're like, hey, let's hold a tournament. They hosted a tournament. My wife and I won it.
not to brag or
not
anything,
to toot
but
my own horn. That was for Preston. But we won this, like, I mean, I think everybody was like a 2-5. We barely knew how to call the score yet, you know. We're playing with the like super squishy ball that's like hitting a sponge. Yeah,
or whatever.
It was terrible.
It was so ratchet.
And we had no idea what we were doing, but I just hustled harder than anyone, and I'm like, this feels like volleyball. Let's go. And I got hooked because, I mean, a warm-up game was with this guy named Pete from Camarillo, and then an old lady, and they beat us, like, my wife and I, like 11-0. And I was like, I will never let that happen again. And then I saw Jay lose 11-0.
I'm never going to lose to Betsy Ann.
Yeah,
ever
exactly.
Again.
Pete and Betsy will never beat me ever again. But then I learned that even pros get bageled. So, I mean, Jay showed me that.
second shot fired
Let's keep talking
already.
about that.
Yeah.
Can we just rail on Jay a little bit more, please? This is what I came here for.
Right? This
everybody.
is perfect.
But I do feel like that is how a lot of people get hooked. That's how I got hooked. Is you like being
You
an
lose
athletic
to
person.
a
You
non-athlete.
lose to a non-athlete, and you're like, what just happened?
Yes.
How?
It's even worse as a great tennis player, though.
Yes.
'Cause you're like, oh, I feel like I should be good at this
And
game.
losing to
you
somebody that's a
still
non-tennis
lose
player.
To a
Yeah.
non-tennis player, non-athlete, and you're like, oh, this can't happen.
You're
Never
like,
again.
this thing is only like a foot and a half difference, and I'm doing the same things, and I just lost to that guy who basically
What?
lobbed me off the court. Like, what?
It makes no sense.
Yeah,
but
I think
it
that's for sure the hook.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I feel like your story is actually it resonates with a lot of people because COVID was bad for like a lot of sports and a lot of things. But
Yeah.
for pickleball, I think people picked it up more than
For sure.
like lost it just because it was one of the few things you could play. At least in Maryland, like they couldn't stop you from taping lines even if they shut down all the parks. So
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
it was
easy to
kinda
just
everywhere.
buy a temp net online
Oh,
and set up in your
temp nets
driveway.
went out of stock everywhere.
Yeah.
Dude,
Like,
gone,
everywhere.
right?
Gone.
We had I didn't even really know until I was driving through my neighborhood. I went down a different street, and they had taped lines on like a Tuesday afternoon.
Mhm.
So you knew on the weekends they just put the net out, they put cones in the cul-de-sac, and they had it going. I was like, what? It's everywhere. This was like a mini version of what an Olympics would be in a sense, where like everyone's like, pickleball, we can play that, and everyone's just like honed in. I went to Utah, everyone's playing. I come back here, everyone's playing. I'm like, whoa, this is rad.
It's like one of those things where if you didn't see it before, you don't notice it, but then once you
It's
like
everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you
want a
get
red
it, and
car,
like,
then you see red cars everywhere.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
And you're like, this is a world I've lived for this long and didn't know about?
Right. Yeah.
It's
There's got to be
weird.
so many of those things that we're missing out on. Pickleball
Yeah.
is just one of them. And that's like super random. Like we're here just setting up cameras. Like people just bike past. And they're talking about pickleball. I look at Ryder. I was like, we're doing a pickleball. What? How?
Wait,
Why?
Do they know we're coming? No.
They know about us. This is an operation.
Right. Yeah, it definitely you get hooked so fast because of the, like you guys said, the non-athlete just crushing you, and you're like, wait, the dude that sits at a desk all day at a 9 to 5 comes out in the evenings and just smashed me.
He's fat. He doesn't move his feet.
I refuse to lose to him ever again.
It's
Exactly.
Yeah. And I gotta imagine it's gotta be pretty funny for you because like it's one thing to be athletic, but for you it's like the court just must feel so small because maybe you can't see it on camera, but you're 6'6" and I think your wingspan is 7'1".
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
It's like the
Yes.
court must be like so.
I feel like I'm on a baby court, and my
Baby
my
court.
ankles are always like vulnerable. I'm like, I feel so vulnerable. Like, do I need like shin pads here? Like everybody could just hit at my feet. And I'm on the kitchen line. I'm like, what's happening?
Right. Yeah. I got to play with you that one time, and what I thought was hilarious is like everything I hit, you were taking out of the air, but the ones that did bounce, I was like, oh my gosh, he has to bend so far. He's like, I'm like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Can you get
dude,
back
throw
up?
my back out with one dink inside the kitchen. I'm like, it's over. It's over for me.
And that's why you talking about playing singles was hysterical because I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen that, but that is totally just a baby giraffe on its first
Oh, right?
because you have to reach so
It's so far. Oh my
like
gosh.
that ball bounce is too low. But don't play singles. It's unless you're beating Jay like a drum 11-0. It's not a fun sport.
Glad
No,
you brought
not
that up that time.
singles.
Have you messed with singles at all?
Three.
Or
Yes.
oh,
So
okay.
I love singles at first because I was actually better at it at the start.
Yeah.
Like hitting those like drives and like the long ball stuff.
Because you can actually hit it hard and get
And
away
I
with it.
didn't know how to drop, so I was like, oh, I really didn't like. If I just return well enough or serve tough enough, I don't need to use it as much because I'm probably not playing guys that that are good yet. So it felt more comfortable. And then I got to play more doubles, and I'm like, oh, singles is a lot of work. And I loved it at first for the cardio aspect, and I felt like the multi-directional aspect of it, and then having to hit winners was really good transfer over into, okay, now be patient with doubles, and then be able to utilize that when you need it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people go into one, or I go into like, okay, I'm just going to like play the game here. And I'm like, why? Why am I not hitting all of these in the air?
Yeah.
And then I'll go play singles and come back, and then I'll be hitting them in the air. I'm like, all right, it's a good combo. You just got to take care of the knees.
Well, you talk about that a lot, actually, like that doubles training. Like singles practice is really good for doubles training.
It's crazy just because like people think of them as two different games, and it's like strategically, sure, you're not doing the same thing, but they're just so helpful for each other, just like the movement and decision making. It transfers so much more than you think. I think singles is so healthy for doubles because if you just get in that kind of doubles mindset, it's vastly different from a singles mindset, and you need a little bit of that.
Yeah, you almost get complacent. You don't get enough.
You get very complacent.
Yeah.
You get lazy with it. You're just like, oh, I'm just playing 10 feet of the court.
Yeah, I'm fine. Listen, I'm doing my job.
You do your job, I'm doing mine.
Yeah.
If you stay still, I'm all over.
How'd you guys do? Oh, we lost my guy. Just blew it for me. I didn't touch a ball, you know. It's so similar to beach, though, because it's like a lot of things that people don't talk about is your partnership and you being able to win with your partner. You have the chemistry side is separate, like good chemistry, cool. But can you go win, and is your guys' ceiling together high enough to go win tournaments?
Yeah.
If it's not, you're constantly jumping around trying to find guys in that main draw, kind of top, 10 type players. Like, well, maybe our chemistry with our combo of how we style will get us to the point where our ceiling's higher and we could actually maybe upset some teams and win some games.
Right.
And people don't talk about it enough, like on the beach, like how long did it take you to go pro? I'm like, bro, until I got a partner good enough that I could go win with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Because like physically and experience, I had it. I just had to keep proving it until someone was willing to take a chance on me.
I love that because it's just, it's a great segue. Like we always do, Robert. Just good flow.
You guys play
good flow?
Like that's just another similarity between volleyball and pickleball. Like
Huge
I feel
similarity.
like there's a lot of similarities between pickleball and other sports. You can find it in anything, and people, it's often compared to tennis and stuff like that. But I actually feel like beach volleyball is like super appropriate because you have so many similarities in terms of like how the sport's grown, volleyball and pickleball, which I'm sure we're going to get to, but also the partnerships, which I hadn't really thought about, especially pro tour wise, like going pro. What people don't realize, like you said, is just who you're playing with and the team chemistry, and like can you beat other teams with that partner. Like searching for the right partner is enormous.
Right.
And it's like just cool to hear from you because it's like, oh yeah,
it's not just
forget
me.
how enormous that is.
It's huge.
It's like Robert even experiences it. Like I have basically one or two partners now, but he's switched around so many times. He's just trying to go from his whole 1 year to pro journey. It's like it's almost like a lot of it. I want to say is like who your partner is. If you don't have the right partner, you're not going to win.
Yeah. Is it the same in volleyball where so I came into pickleball and all the guys have, their partners are booked like over a year in advance.
Yeah.
Like all 2022 partnerships are already established.
Yeah.
So if you want to come into the sport and do some damage early, it just, you can't really.
It's so hard. You're slowly picking up like the veteran at your local court. And you're like, sweet. And then you're beating everybody. And then you're like, all right, let's go to the down south and let's go play in LA. And then you get smashed. And then you're creeping into getting one of those guys. And then you're slowly creeping up. And like, it's dude, it's like dating. And we heckle each other on beach volleyball. We used to have this like feature where they do a video every like summer, hot stove. And they would burn pictures of their partners if they split up randomly. And one of them was like, two Olympians had played with each other. They had both played in the Olympics, and they were flying home to go play in like a huge Grand Slam right after. Big money, right? So you went to the Olympics because it's cool and you honor your country, and then you got to go play pro to make money, right? It's a similar thing. And so he texted him while on the plane, hey, we're not playing anymore, on the way to the event. It's like stuff like that happening all the time and then it's just awkward for everyone who knows about it. Like I feel more awkward than they do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so awkward. But that partnership thing is so gnarly because are they going to invest the same amount of time? Are they willing to go drill, do double days, maybe triples? Is their nutrition tight? Are they lifting with me? And that's the hardest part is finding a guy that you don't just show up in Newport with that lives in, like you're in Austin and then guys are in, I live in, let's say even Newport, and we'll just show up a half day before the event, and we'll dink around, slap and tickle, and then we're off to the races. And you're like, what? Well, there's a reason why we're not winning, dude.
100%.
Come on.
I feel like pickleball is so Wild West. It's more on the side of the second one where you're just kind of like meeting up and playing.
Let's
Rather
just show
than,
up in Newport and
we'll have
see
a
what
whack at
happens.
it. We'll play some pickleballs.
Do we have enough points to both be in? Yeah, we're in. We're fine. And that's how it always is too. It's like the guys. Then you got the guys that are just playing the points game. I don't know if it's the same for you guys. We're like, well, we'd be in, but we hate each other. Well, let's play. And then they'll play together. And you're like, how are they playing? They hate each other.
Yeah.
It's just because they are in. They got enough points to get in the main draw. They didn't have to gravel through the qualifier. And you're like, this is a joke. Like, why aren't we investing? Like, why aren't we like assigning a year contract in a sense when you're a pro? Like, hey, I'm with you for this year. Let's ride it out and go through the ups and downs.
Yeah.
Versus like, it's hard because
Doing
then
all
you're
this
just constantly
switcheroo.
searching,
Yeah.
and then you're on a roller coaster, and you're
Yeah.
like, "Bro, is it me? Do I suck? Like, what's wrong? Like, I know I can side out, dude.
So
what's
accurate.
going on?"
So accurate.
It's just it's so like pickleball. It's just hilarious. Like it's hard to describe even how much that relates to us.
100%.
I'd say it's even like not quite as almost cutthroat. I want to say because pickleball still has a little bit of honor because it's more like, hey,
Yes.
most people don't view it as like a career at this point.
Yes.
So they're more like, hey, I'm going to honor my commitment. I don't want to be like scorned by my peers by dropping somebody. But
Nailed
people
it.
have started doing that, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, is this going to start happening more? Well,
It will.
shoot. I mean, if they did it, I could do it. And
Exactly.
It's like,
Oh, I've got an out now because my cousin jumped off the bridge.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna go jump off the bridge. Which that's
did it
why,
first.
dude. It's well, he did, Mom. Yeah, it's funny because you guys keep talking about all this stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, it's so similar to beach volleyball and
gotta
the
be eerie for
trajectory,
you.
dude. It's really weird. Because the game started as this, like, you show up and you'd win some chairs and you were stoked. Like, you could win a six-pack of beer and a chair, and you're like, yes, maybe a new ball. You're like, yes, I needed a new ball. And you didn't want to spend $80 on a new ball. You're like,
Right.
oh, this is so rad. And we were traveling all up the coast playing in the CVVA, and if you got your AAA, it's like going pro, you know what I mean, or 5-0. It's the 5-0 of pickleball.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm the kid Hayden who goes, pro or 5-0 at such a young age. That was our guy here, Rosie. He was 16, just lived on the beach, made it in the pro tour at 16. You're like, 16 in beach volleyball? That's gnarly because it's a sport where you've got to play for a while.
yeah.
It's the same thing. You're just constantly bouncing around, and the money gets involved, and you get sponsors involved, and then Bud Light kicks in, and now you're like, we had just down the street here $1 million open at Manhattan Beach where we played for $1 million. But it started with winning chairs in a volleyball.
Yeah.
And the honor was there, and now
Less so.
we've got the Hawkeye cameras,
Uh-huh.
and the ball hits off my hand, and I'm still yelling no touch. And I know the world's watching, and I'm like, look, we're playing for money and honor, bro. Until the ref they're being paid to play this, and they're paying for the Hawkeye cameras.
Yeah.
They want to challenge it. Good for them. Like, that's just how we got
part
to
of the
play.
game.
I got
Yeah.
4 kids to feed, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
And
look,
everybody's doing it the same way.
the
so-
honor kind of the honor goes from, I'm still not going to lie to you, but there's a reason why this guy's being paid, and we've got all this technology. Why don't you use it?
Yeah.
Because the challenge system I saw that you guys finally.
Yeah, first time.
We have the same thing. We have 2 a set, and if we miss it, we lose it. But it doesn't eliminate a timeout if we get it wrong,
Yeah.
which I thought was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I think they kind of mimicked football in that way. That's
Yeah.
how football
Yeah.
works,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But you guys
they
don't have
use
like a
timeout.
technical timeout. We have a technical.
No, we don't have that. So how they were doing it is you only lose the timeout if you were wrong. You keep
Right.
it if you're right.
Right.
Which I wasn't, like, personally, they're just kind of experimenting with it. But I thought it was cool, of course, having the challenge. But also it didn't feel like a big deal to actually use the timeout silly because 2 per game is already, like, kind of a lot.
It is a lot.
I agree. It should
It
be 1
goes-
a game, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
2 a game for both teams. You can have
Right.
4 timeouts in a game.
yeah,
Silly.
that
2 a
seems like
game
a
to
lot,
11.
especially if you're regaining the timeout if you're right.
Yeah.
So.
But it was interesting because, I know their PPA is testing it and stuff, but, like, the one that you guys had, I think Matt hit the ball, and it was called long, right?
No, that was
hit it?
we challenged 2. I hit 1 long. That turned out to be long. First game I hit 1, and it actually turned out to be right. It was like a call that I wouldn't have even challenged. I thought it was out,
Yeah.
no question.
Yeah.
Then they looked at it, I was like, oh,
Oh,
okay.
wow.
Like, I'll take it. Let's
Wow.
go.
The like-
8-10.
Yeah.
The one that they confirmed out was, like, I saw it.
It
and
was it was a drive for me.
Yeah. It was still so hard to, like, even on the replay, like, we need Hawkeye. We need actual technology. Because they're just looking at basically a still.
I saw the guy in the back. He's got a 12-inch screen split in 4, and then he's watching like the random 2x3-inch thing. I'm like, and the dude's 65 years old, 70 years old.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, we're making progress, but, you know, Uncle Leroy here is not going to see that ball in, even when we slow down to 240 frames per second.
There's no chance.
You need the Hawkeye where it's like super legit, but that costs so much money.
Yeah.
And then when they implemented it to ours, it was like you only could use it if you made it to the quarters or farther.
Got it.
Before that, it didn't matter, and it was only on stadium.
Yeah.
So you'd play a whole tournament, and you'd get to the quarters, and you're finally on stadium, and then the teams that had been playing that had the rhythm. They knew how to use them, and we're like, wait, what? And if we didn't call it early, you had to call it right away, or you didn't get it. They're like, sorry, it took too long for you to decide. And you're like, wait, what? But I thought, you just got thrown in a tornado.
Sure. Right.
And
Tough
now
for
they've got,
non-veterans to even,
dude,
understand it or get in.
Yeah.
And once again, kind of like how pickleball is, like people that aren't used to how tournaments work are a little thrown off sometimes. Like we just take things for granted, like how to show up for matches, like how much time we're going to have in between matches.
Right.
When you get into back draw, you're like match after match. If you're not used to how it works, it's like, this is funky.
You're just, and let alone, like, I've missed so many thirds. I just need
I just need to make it big.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. That's crazy.
It's parallels in the two sports for sure, all over the place. And I'd say one of the main things we wanted to talk about for sure coming into this that I think we're definitely going to see parallels with is how volleyball got into the Olympics and how that kind of transformed. Because I'd say the question we maybe get more than anything is, when is it in the Olympics? Like, shoot, man, I don't know. It's like an impossible question.
And we were talking on the ride up. It's like, and also, why is that important? Like,
so glad you said that.
Right? Like,
dude, I may have commented to you at one point or said something on a Facebook forum when I was just it's always at night when the kids are asleep. I just go and like catch up, and they're talking about why it's not in there and why it would be good and why it would be bad, and there's a lot of good, and then there's also a lot of negative for the pro side. You look at the NBA. You got LeBron, who's volunteering not to go. He's already he has a gold medal, and to be honest, if he didn't have one, he probably wouldn't be super upset. Yeah. Because winning the NBA championship is the most important thing, and it's also the hardest thing to win. So there's a value is in the Pro Tour. It's in the NBA. It's not in the Olympics. Is an honor to represent your country.
Correct.
It shouldn't be. The problem for us is until it was established in the Olympics in '96, the AVP, which is our Pro Tour, was the most worldwide known. It'd be like your PPA, whoever it takes off on your tour. It's the Pro Tour. Yeah. All the money's involved. You've got the beer companies, you've got all Xbox. We've had everyone. All your like hydration drinks. Dude, that's our wheelhouse. Sunglasses, apparel, sunblock, like everything that you guys have because it's an outdoor sport, it's the same, and I see that like slowly creeping in. Yeah. But the Olympics, what happens is that now everyone only focuses on it every 4 years. Every 4 years, everyone's like, they hibernate. They go, oh, yeah, there's beach volleyball. This is fun. I love watching it. And you're like, no, we play every year all summer long for like 6 months across the world. So that's the problem, is that your PPA will be like, well, we can't really find sponsors, and, there's not as much value for you guys, And then what happens is now you've got to sign agreements to play in a certain number of, hey, we have 12 events, you have to play in 8 or you don't get your prize money. And then we have the World Tour saying, hey, you only get 60% of your prize money until you play 10 events, and then we give you the last 40 after you're done. And so then you're like, oh, okay, so now they're fighting each other, and then you have to go on the World Tour for Olympic points, but you want to just stay home because the PPA for you guys finds you your sponsors, your prize money, your camps, your clinics, like all the ways you make money are here. But then now you're wasting your time traveling all over the world trying to go follow the Olympics.
Very conflicted. It's like pickleball in that it's just a whole like hodgepodge of different things conflicting and happening all over the place. And it's like, once again, the Wild West. You just have a bunch of people like competing, which competing is a good thing, but it gets very disorganized at some point. Yes. It's just like, and that's why back to the Olympics, like that's what everyone seems so concerned with. But on the other hand, I'm just like, who cares? I never really thought of it as a huge deal.
Dude, the fact that it's happening X amount of times a summer for you guys, or there's 8 to 10 to 12 maybe events that you're playing. For me, there's more value in that than waiting for 4 years to see how you're doing, or waiting to watch a live feed in Russia. You're in Moscow playing. Yeah,
I'm glad to know I'm not the only one that feels bad for these gymnasts. I'm like,
oh, dude,
nobody ever watches any of your events for anything else.
I don't even know your name.
Yeah, gymnastics. Yeah, it's an Olympic thing, nothing else.
Yeah, or like even swimming. You're like, wait, what? How long have they been training? Did they work like
train 4 years just for one event?
What are they doing? Who's paying for them to train? Like, how are they doing this? I mean, I did it, but I was working. I was working construction. I was coaching volleyball, and then also a personal, like a strength coach. I was doing that my whole career until 2013 when I was like, all right, that's it, I'm going all in. And I would also go play pro indoor volleyball in Puerto Rico. They had a short season. So I'd be doing all these things and then coming back and like hoping that I had enough like confidence in myself and experience to go win on the pro tour. Yeah. And it didn't, dude, I was constantly floundering, finding new partners, whatever. And
it's
until
so
I
tough
honed
to
it,
juggle that many things.
I couldn't, until I honed it, then it was just like, Team of the year, best offensive. I'm going to do my Preston here and just brag.
Go.
5 events in a row, which would never been done in the last 20 years. And then we went 4 events in a row we were winning. And then we won another 4 in a row. We're Team of the Year for 4 years straight, #1 team. We were on fire.
Yeah.
And the minute I was like, oh, I'm actually going to go get a job again to supplement because the tour's slowing down. Prize money's getting a little weird. The Olympics are coming up. And it's just now I'm back to just playing volleyball the least amount of time out of the day when I should probably be focused. I'm playing more pickleball than volleyball. It's awkward. Don't tell. My wife doesn't listen to podcasts, so she won't hear this. But
awkward topic.
I mean, if I'm driving back from here, I go and I'll meet Matt Manassi in the Riv, and I'll go train for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Or I'll train and I'll lift weights with him, and then he'll train me for an hour on my way here. Dude, I'm sneaking pickleball in way more than I should. It's crazy.
It's so addictive, but you can also see parallels in even the ATP, tennis. It is really tough for those players on the Futures Tour to somehow have the backing, the money to travel and try to play, and then it's just so much pressure to make your money back. It's gosh, if I don't win this tournament, I'm not going to be able to go to the next one kind of deal.
Exactly.
It's a lot of pressure, and when you have that kind of pressure to perform, most people don't perform as well.
Right.
It's you need to be free and unencumbered to actually perform your best, which is hardly what that is, right?
Yeah, you got to be able to take a loss and mentally already just recover in a way where you already got your training for that week to fine-tune things and then get right back at it. Versus I'm panicking on the call home that I got to change my flight, pay for fees to change my flight from, we're coming from, let's say, Germany. We're in Berlin or something. We got to change our flights. We got to pay for that, the luggage. We got to hurry and get to a New York event too. I mean, you're just bleeding money just to follow the dream. And I'm not single. I have 4 kids, and you know what I mean. It just, that evolution changes the way you can train and perform.
It's an obscene amount of things.
Which comes full circle back to why having the Pro Tour be what is most important and the Olympics be an accessory is how I'm hoping is how it will be treated. And it usually isn't, because the Olympics trumps everything, unfortunately. But then it turns you guys into a 4-year sport versus an every year.
Yeah, that's a very interesting take, because I hadn't really thought about it like that. On one hand, I was the Olympics isn't that big of a deal to me. I just was never really concerned with it. But I didn't realize it actually does diminish how you view everything else.
100%.
So
we don't think about gymnastics. Like we talked about, we don't think about gymnastics.
We had to look up the salary of a pro swimmer today.
Yeah. And what is it? It's got to be nothing.
It was average 40 to 50,000 a year,
which is their travel cost.
Yeah,
because they're all over the world traveling.
It's you are training for one event every 4 years. That sucks.
And what people don't know is if they have a label on their resume that says world champion, that is harder to win than the Olympics. And
no question.
Because you guys probably know this too. In our sport, you have all these continental cup berths. We have, specific continents that don't have even close to elite level volleyball. They get a berth, and then you're in your pool, and you're like, all right, we know we got that win. And then we got, the 3rd team in our pool. We'll beat them. And then we're just basically batting with Spain for the first seed spot out of the pool.
Right.
That's the Olympics or world champs. You're dude, there's 5, 6 Brazilian teams that all could win this event. We've got all our American teams. Germany's unstoppable. We got these Norwegian kids out of Norway. Latvia, all these places where it snows. They're playing beach volleyball. The Norwegians are 21. They just won the gold medal. I played them when they were 14 and absolutely destroyed them. They look like baby deer where their joints were too big for their bodies. And now they're the best players in the world and have been for the last 3 years. And you're the sport is just evolving at such a gnarly pace that if we don't have our Pro Tour as a staple for us to learn how to win, to develop the next generations, to make money and have sponsors, the Olympics is going to be really hard for people to go do.
Absolutely. Can you imagine, just comparing that, compare winning the biggest pickleball tournament right now to competing with other countries? Well, that's a free win.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all free wins.
It's identical.
Exactly.
It's identical. Yeah.
You're on a higher level of that, where it's an extreme in pickleball, where obviously you have one player in some other countries, but you basically have no players in other countries.
You got a guy in Italy who likes to play for fun randomly. Another dude in Spain.
It's
right. But you'd have the people living in America. Jay would go for France.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd have Pat go for
right.
France.
They'd all end up representing their country.
Right. Yeah.
So you'd have a few, but there'll be one of them.
Exactly. And then you have your whatever 50 good Americans.
Yeah.
It's what a joke.
Oh, there's so much depth. Yeah.
But in terms of the Olympics, though, because I think you brought up an interesting point that we talked about, the chicken and the egg thing.
Yeah.
Will pickleball getting in the Olympics grow the sport internationally? Because once it's in the Olympics, other countries will start training, right?
For sure. 100%. Because now there's a dream to go get. When it doesn't exist, if you don't watch it here on YouTube or on ESPN or wherever it's being featured, a lot of kids now also aren't watching TV.
Yeah.
So unless it's on the only TV we're watching are the Olympics, maybe the NBA Finals, the World Series Final. It's only the finals now that
Exactly.
no one's watching the grind.
No.
I know that I don't even watch it anymore, and I used to sit in front of the TV as a kid and watch like a mid-season baseball game.
Yeah.
Now I'm like half asleep, you know what I mean,
Exactly.
during the
No,
World
thank
Series, and I'm
you.
like, what's happening?
Yep.
So it will definitely expand, but then you're going to end up, dude, I'm doing 100,000 miles of flying a summer on top of playing your PPA and your
ridiculous.
whatever other tours and then your clinics and your vacations. Like, do we have the same things? A volleyball vacation, we've got our clinics, we try to go a couple days early. It just makes it where you're doing a lot more work, and
Right.
your body starts to just, your hips are locked up because you're on a plane more than you ever play.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just like, dude, what's happening? So there's good and bad.
Yeah.
Right, world recognition, you guys being on the top right now would actually help right away. You would get a lot of sponsorship dollars. You guys would get a lot of recognition. It would be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then that would quickly be, there's a lot of more competition now because people are devoting full time to this.
Yeah.
So you're like, it's a give and take. I mean, overall the sport will be elevated.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But why not just keep it ours? You know?
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool just because everyone realizes that if it goes Olympics, you just have so many more eyes in the sport in general. So yeah, of course it'll expand stuff for people overall, and probably most importantly, it'll just get a maximum amount of people actually playing and knowing about the sport, which is really cool because it's easy for everyone to play, and that's awesome. Like, I love that. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's just interesting that the Pro Tour is diminished by a little bit, and it wouldn't be the same anymore. That's for sure. So certainly not saying we don't support the Olympics. That would be awesome, right? But there's not all plus sides to it.
Right.
And Steve Kuhn, so he owns Dreamland, built Dreamland.
Yeah,
He's
listen to
starting-
that podcast. Dude, that place sounds amazing.
Yeah. So he's also started Major League Pickleball. He sent us a text this morning actually talking about the process of getting a sport into the Olympics. And I didn't realize that the host country, so U.S. in 2028, it's LA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're able to introduce new sports if you're the host country to the Olympics.
Right.
So like
surf-
Japan did it this time for baseball and softball, which had been in the Olympics previously, but not since 2008. So they're like, we want it back. Basically, they get like a couple choices of.
They get
hey,
their
we
wild
want-
cards.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
like
So-
teams in every sport that didn't qualify, they get a team.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I thought getting in the Olympics would be like a very long process.
But
If it could be 2028 LA,
dude, right?
be insane. I don't know the process of having pickleball be the sport, but just the fact that that's a possibility. I didn't even know that was a possibility in terms of the host country getting to add sports.
I feel like people always underestimate like how long stuff like that
Yeah.
takes. So you're looking at absolute maximum. Like, this is kind of a shooting the moon kind of thing.
Yep.
Is 2028.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
other than that, it's
Yeah.
like it's not coming anytime soon.
Right.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's a real thing that could happen because of that. And best case scenario is when you host, you're getting automatic berths for teams, and then maybe that second team has to earn it. Well, that would be very easy for the Americans to do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happens is it could be tough at first because there's not a lot of teams from other countries to represent pickleball.
Yep.
That's where it would be a little bit interesting. Well, you get your first gold medal like U.S. did, where we just destroyed everyone.
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, oh, I've only been playing for like 2 years. And we're like, we've been playing on the Pro Tour for 20, making $1
luck.
million an event. You know what I mean? Yeah.
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 What's interesting about pickleball, though, is it's a little more feasible, I think, simply because you do have a lot of countries that are very good at tennis. And all of the good
That's
pickleball
true.
players currently are former very good tennis players.
That's
and
true.
they pick it up very quickly. So, like, even in the last 4 years, because technically for the Olympics, it would be introduced or accepted in 2024, and then it would happen in 2028.
So you'd have 4
technically
years.
you'd have 4 years
Yeah.
to train. And
That's plenty- that's
That's a
time.
lifetime for Rob.
Yes.
It'll take him a year.
Thank you,
Are you
Casey.
kidding me? Unbelievable.
It could be anybody. Any
Dude,
country could
he's
win
already
in
on
4
the
years.
podium.
so I mean, that's where it's interesting about pickleball, because any country can actually catch up a lot quicker than you think, as long as they have any reasonable amount of tennis
Right.
at all.
Right.
Just because that's where all our pro players come from, and they come very quickly. Whereas volleyball, like, you don't really have background sports for that. It's more like, no, you put in the time, and that's how you get good.
Or
Yes.
what does translate well into volleyball? Like, do you have people come from other sports that it really makes sense?
So basketball guys, you end up blocking well because they'll do like the rebound timing or the alley-oop timing when they block, kind of like this delay, reach over, and kind of like step close type thing. But it's really volleyball is very much like pickleball, where the touch and the speed of the all the different speeds of the ball and angles and the manipulation, that's like the meat and potatoes, and then the driving and the serving and all that other stuff comes late.
Yeah.
Well, everybody wants to go and hammer a ball. Well, that's maybe the easiest thing to do anyways.
Yeah.
It's, can you even pass the ball to set up the whole play?
Right.
Like, if you can't return of serve, you can't score. And that would be the problem, is that I'm, jump serving a ball 68 miles an hour at you in the wind, in to out spin where it's coming and tailing to your left side. And you're like, I just started playing. I've never seen that before. like that.
That'd be pretty intimidating.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's very similar for me, is that there's all the technical things are what make you great. But everybody wants to do I want the lob overhead.
Good.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and I want to
Yeah.
hammer this rad spin serve.
It sounds
like,
so fun.
It's so fun
so
until
cool.
you go play guys that are good and you never get that.
No.
I never.
They just beat you with fundamentals.
The only time I get one is if I speed it up and the guy, they'll flex it. I'm like, oh, here we go. Now that's where I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
But it's very similar in that way there. You have to, especially on beach, you have to invest much more time.
Yeah.
Guys that come from the national team that touch, over 12 feet can't just come out and win an event. It takes them years.
Interesting.
Because we had a gold medalist, Reed Pretty, who was a very technical guy who actually played beach here and there growing up, won a gold medal in 2008, and then wanted to officially become a pro player and announce, like, hey, I'm going to change the way you guys train, because it's not like the indoor team and the national team trains this way. I'm going to do that for beach. And we're like, cool, dude, good luck. That's not going to work the same. And it took, he was trying to, like, he called it like the cheat code. He wanted to cut through that time and do it in 2 years versus like the 5 or 6 it takes.
Yeah.
And it took him 6 years,
Yeah.
and he did finally win one.
Yeah.
But it's like it's really tough to have that cheat code because it's so technical, like
Yeah.
pickleball.
Yeah.
It's so hard, and the elements, like, it's always different. Nothing's ever the same.
Yeah.
So it's very similar to that, where you can't just be athletic and show up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm to look like a goofball, but if you go play volleyball, it's the opposite. Where, hopefully I would make you guys look like baby deer on ice. You know what I mean? Like,
Hey,
it's
Yes,
like
you would.
it would look more comical than pickleball.
Yeah.
it's a softer landing though.
Yeah.
I'm all cut up.
I
yeah.
don't want that ball right there headed at me at like
60 miles
70,
per hour.
80 miles.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You're just trying to dig a ball right on the 10-foot line.
It's like,
It'd be like you on the kitchen
I'm
line.
breaking
Yeah.
my face today.
Yeah. Here we go. I hope my nose looks like this when I'm done. Yeah, it's crazy. But it's very technical that way, where it's the time has to be invested, and a big part of it is strategy. Like our opponents, they have multiple game plans to attack, and then if this one doesn't work, we go to this one. If this doesn't work, like, I know that's what you guys for sure do.
Yeah.
You got tendencies, you're watching video, it's the same thing. So that's after you kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's rad. They're so similar that I want to be good so bad, because I'm like, I know how to do it. I know how to compete, and I know how to show up to a tournament, and I know how to be on stadium and joke with the ref to get on my side, get the calls, let him have the ones I know he should. Talk to the guy who's talking although you guys don't get hecklers as much.
We are.
I know.
Kinda.
I love that,
Yeah,
though.
it's recent.
It is good.
It's recent.
It's fun.
so funny.
It's so good.
It's great. It's great for the sport. I want it.
Warnick and Goldberg.
What I was about to say is, like,
Yeah.
you get it so much because you're like at that level where you're like, I know what it takes, and I know
Yeah.
everything it takes to be put in, and I feel like I have that mentality, that mindset, but at the same time,
I suck.
you're just like, dang it,
Yeah.
I know how much time this takes, and
Exactly.
I don't have it.
There's no cheat, and I know there's no
There's
cheat
no
code.
cheat code.
Even if I moved to like where you guys lived or wherever your training camp was, it would still
Even if you
take
pulled
me
a
like
Rob.
2-3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would still take that amount of time to be
Yeah.
dominant.
Right. You can't skip steps, really.
It's so frustrating though, because I'm like, dude, I'm showing up at like 6 in the morning by myself doing drills. And I'm like, dude, it's all about drills and playing. It's drilling 3 times a week and playing twice a week, and that's what I'm doing. I'll go and play like 2-3 hours of drills, and then play for like an hour, and then I'll leave and just assess that. And it's like, I know what I got to do. I just can't get in. I'm not good enough.
What I was going to ask about, because it's really interesting that you're bringing it up, is like what a volleyball practice routine as a pro looks like, and how you compare that to pickleball. Because I feel like a lot of people just, come into pickleball, if they didn't play something like another pro sport,
Yeah.
they don't know how to practice.
Yes.
They don't understand
I'm
what goes into it. And I feel like as another pro, it's like, sure, you don't have the racket sport background, but you know how to train like a professional.
Yeah.
So I feel like you probably progressed at a much better rate than anyone without a racket sport background, just because of that. So like, how do the two compare?
I feel like we kind of have the cliff notes. I mean, Rob, what did you do that helped you get there so much quicker versus someone else? It was the way you drilled, the camp you were around, and the guys you were training with. Like, what helped you kind of fast track what you were doing?
Yeah, so what I saw, what I did compared to some other people that I heard that were also very good tennis players that came into the sport, like they'll go play around with like some 3-5s, some 4-0s, and they'll beat them, and they'll be like, this game is pretty easy. But I went right to like 5-0s and just got beat by non-athletic people.
Kept losing.
Just got my face kicked in.
That's the blueprint to any sport, in my opinion.
It
Just
is.
lose to good
Just
players, and
lose.
you will absorb
I'm
stuff.
glad you said that. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm playing in like 4 or 5 5-0 tournaments where, 2 months ago I tried that, and I mean I lost every game. I don't think we scored more than 3 points.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "Why are you upset?" And my wife was like, she played a 3-0 and 1 gold. She's like, "Why didn't you play like I've had a medal?" I'm like, I don't want anything else but like a
Glad
pro
you got
medal.
that gold, honey.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm like,
get better.
I'm like, good. You already have 2 medals. She's like, I'm the only one that medals in the family. I'm like, yeah, because I'm going to learn and get opportunity to play against guys that are way better than me because I'm not getting that when I practice.
Hey, baby, do you see that Olympic medal up there?
Yeah.
But
Oh, you
congrats.
see the shrine, the whole trophy room? Cute. You can put your medals over there. Hang them on the antler horn. Yeah.
It's important though, because even tennis, when I played junior tennis, I started pretty late for to play Division I college tennis. I started when I was 12, almost 13, and my dad just threw me in tournaments right away. I wasn't good at all, but I didn't win a match, and so you go 2 and out basically in tennis. Yeah. I lost my first 60 matches, 8 tournaments in a row without winning a match. But it motivated me, made me better.
That's a lot of barbecuing.
Yeah.
You just barbecue, and you're like, I don't love barbecues anymore now because of this Uno Dos.
Right.
And I remember he asked me, he's like, because I switched from baseball to tennis. He's like, want to go back to baseball? I'm like, no. Don't ever ask me that again. Next tournament, let's go. So it motivates you.
It does. And I feel like you get those opportunities against guys you've never seen, different styles, different guys that have different game, and you're just getting smashed. And I'm just processing so much more information at one tournament than I do practicing for 3 months against guys that are kind of the same skill as me.
It's not even close to the same thing.
So I'm glad you said that, because that's the blueprint for beach volleyball. It's like you got to constantly grind. You're out. I mean, we're coming to the beach. You do usually it's like a 3-hour practice. We do a little bit more warming up because we've got to max jump for a lot of the things that we're doing.
Yeah.
Where pickleball, I feel like guys roll up and they kind of they'll just dink straight over the net and be like, yeah, I'm good. And I'm like, wow, I'm going to tear an Achilles. I'm like, when I play pickleball,
whoa,
dude,
slow down.
I'm so nervous about that, especially being a little bit older. I'm like, dude, for a male, that Achilles tear is a very real thing. And I'm coming from a different surface too, so I'm always kind of nervous. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing band work and lifting in the morning and sitting in a sauna and just microwave myself warm so that I can go play. But I think you're going to start to see that, you're seeing younger guys that are athletes and know how to prep and do all the active dynamic warm-ups before they're playing and all that kind of stuff. And that's where it's going to get, that's where all these rallies are getting rad too, because you got guys that are real athletes playing this game.
Just nasty stuff
Dude,
on the court.
It's so cool.
I mean, if you look at tennis, how athletic that's gotten just from the early 2000s.
my gosh.
What
It's
Djokovic
changed so much.
looks like
It's
now.
changed
It's
so much,
you're doing splits on the court and hitting open stance, backhand winning, winners.
Absolute hammers. You're just
it's just so nasty. You could already see how pickleball, it'll just look so much more impressive when you have more athletes like that.
Yeah.
Especially in singles, you're just going to have just ridiculous plays and points, which
that's the
I'm
progression
really
too, right? You got guys that are actually taking it serious more often. You're probably seeing that a lot more. Me, I don't belong taking it serious, and I'm taking it so serious because just that desire to be good is just overwhelming. And it's fun to be an experienced athlete in a different sport and knowing how to evolve around the game and prepare and do everything, all the hydration stuff, and then go compete. That's the most comfortable place. Yeah. So it's I got to drill it so I can go get comfortable. Because that's stadium court guys heckling me, talking about me, and my hair looks goofy or whatever. And then by the end of that game,
Casey,
I
love your hair.
Thank you, Ben. Wore a hat today, son of a. But winning crowds over, beating their guy and be dude, come with me to the finals so you can be my fan now. And they're all in. That's the most fun. It's so fun. I love it.
It's so good. And also what I was going to ask you is along with that, the hecklers, which we're seeing in pickleball now, and the training and all that, more than the Olympics, what I was interested in is kind of the parallels you see in pro pickleball, because I wasn't sure how much you actually watched, but then you saw me beat Jay 11-0, so I guess you do tune in.
It was my birthday's 4-year-old daughter.
For Jay.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, I was just curious, what do you see in pickleball it's doing well pro-wise? What's lacking? What did you get in volleyball that you're this wasn't good, this was good? Because I feel once again, just because of the parallels, we could learn a lot just from where you guys went wrong or where you guys went right.
What we had a few things go wrong, which was at first the players they ran the tour in a sense. They kind of had almost ownership in the tour and had all the relationships, and so they were talking directly to a Miller or Bud Light. They were talking directly to all the big sponsors that were dropping a ton of money. And so they were navigating how much to get paid. That's why it was so great. They're like, well, all these events should be $1 million an event, nothing below 500 grand an event. And at that time, there wasn't even like a women's tour at first. So it was only the guys. And then that came in, and now it was like doubling up. So then it got even better. Then owners get involved, right? Someone buys it. Mm-hmm. And then what happens is those guys, some of them, we've gone through a few bankruptcies. Like right as soon as I got my first sponsor, I signed with Rockstar Energy Drink. And I'm like, they're paying me like 25 grand a year to play volleyball? What? Babe, I've made it. And then my garage is
I've made it.
My garage is just stacked full of crates of Rockstar, and I'm like, I shouldn't be drinking this, but I'm here and I feel rad, and I got the stuff all over me when I'm playing. It was like my first experience of
sounds like Pickleball
a real sponsor.
Oh,
you're like, wait, they're gonna pay me, not just give me product? I've made it,
right? Like, wait.
Yeah.
You're going to pay me and give me free
Yeah,
paddles?
exactly.
What did you say?
This is unbelievable. It was the coolest thing ever. And then the tour goes bankrupt because the owner gets greedy, gobbles up sponsorships, over-promises a lot of things, and then they all pull out, right? And then the next guy buys it. Same thing kind of happens. And then finally we have the one we have now, Donald's son. He's kind of like taken under his wing because he was a player and he loved it. And so what we could learn from that is that you have to be very careful at making sure you protect yourselves as players, because what you're probably seeing is Franklin, Takea, all these sponsors are going to be like, we want Ben, but 3 players said they would do it for free, and they're on the pro tour. So we could get triple the amount of engagement on social media for free, or we win with Ben, but we got to pay him 50, 60 grand a year to drink out of our bottle. And that's the problem that I face. And so I had to have almost like a talk with all these young players. Like, look,
stop selling yourself short.
Ask me how much I make, and I will tell you right now. I would rather because everyone was very secretive. They didn't want to share, hand out contacts.
That's how Pickleball is.
Because guys are backdooring and trying to swoop in. Well, I do more social media than Ben. He's winning, but I'm shooting content the whole time. Well, to be honest, that might be more of like valuable sometimes in certain situations because you're busy playing and winning. And they're filming you winning, getting paid for it. You're like, what's happening? So I think
something is wrong here. There's a glitch in the matrix.
It's so wrong. So you're like, you have to educate these guys that are in that mix where they're starting to get some opportunity to get these sponsors and be like, look, I'll tell you, I would tell them how much I made and be like, look, we have to protect ourselves. This is what we're all worth, but this is what I've done. So if you say you're going to do it for free, this is what happens to our sport. All the sponsors drop down. Now, what are they doing? They're only sponsoring the tour. Does that turn into prize money? No, it doesn't. It just pays for bigger events, more events, but we're still getting paid enough to maybe cover our travel costs. Yeah. Like, we have to be able to make a living off this. So that's one thing that for you guys to navigate going forward is like, we've never put a player like a union together, but we should have. Only if just to protect ourselves as a group.
Do you feel like you should have done it early? Like it's kind of too late now? Like where it wouldn't
Yes and no,
do
because
much?
we just had Bally's buy us out, which I think is going to like Fox. They own Fox Sports, which I know you guys probably have some events too as well in the pickleball world.
Right.
So now you guys have talked about betting. That comes back full circle.
Yep.
Now, betting, I don't care if I watch the sport. If I can bet, I'm stoked on it. I'm going to do it. I had so many people hitting me up about beach volleyball. Dude, I nailed it. I made the guy so much money because I knew everything. Picked the Norwegians to win, the Russians in the finals with him. The guy's like, dude, and I'm like, is this okay for me to do? Like, I just gave
this was
like
really
insider
easy.
trading. You're like, am I going to get sued? Yeah. So it's like,
nope, that's legal.
Yeah. So I think that's the same. We're going in the same direction where they're doing that, right? And so it's going to be interesting to see how we all navigate that. And yes, we should have done it sooner. Is it too late? I don't know, because Bally's just now bought our tour. And they're going to have the infrastructure to have events at their locations and then have the casinos to bet on everything. And I heard that they bought ping pong or table tennis and they invested like, people always over-exaggerate. Someone told me 40 to 60 million, and they've made it where it's like current and it's pumping and people are playing and they're spending money on gear and paddles and stuff like that. Yeah. So I don't think it's ever too late. It's just, I think it has to be delicately done because we're going to get a disconnect with the ownership and who's in charge versus now, like the guy that owns it, it's like our boy, we could go play with him. We'll play doubles with him on the weekend, and he owns the tour, and we feel like our safe uncle owns the tour.
Yes. Yeah.
And if we don't have that anymore, it gets a little scary.
Right.
So I think having a union, even if it's not for anything, but to just be like, dude, this is our insurance. It's our insurance policy. Yeah. I think it would be very smart for you guys to set that up. And even if it's like a minimal cost, just to be like, all right, hold on, let's all collectively agree that the prize money needs to be a minimum of this. We're not asking for the world. Let's just bump it up this, or let's promise 2 more events a year. Like that's what we kind of did without that, and it happened. But we had our fun uncle helping us do that.
Right.
If we didn't, we would have been screwed.
Got it.
So I think there's value there, and so that's like protect yourself with the sponsorship, because it's hard to find money, and the way that's changed. It used to be, you win, you're on NBC Live. That's how I got my sponsors.
Yep.
So I'm like, well, I have to win. I have to be the best. Now it's like, I just have to start a YouTube channel and just say that I play. And I'm making more money and getting more sponsors than Casey, who's trying to still be the best.
Yes.
And you're like, it's backwards. What's happening? Like, why is it working this way? So I think protecting yourself that way could be valuable.
I'm taking notes, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to be like Casey someday. I'm going to be better than Casey. I'm going to learn from Casey.
And I'm going to film Casey. Get paid for it.
Yeah.
Oh, full circle, everybody.
Yeah. Oh, hey there, Lululemon.
Speaking of filming, Casey.
You know I love wearing your clothes, and it looks like you sponsor Casey.
I always say I am the biggest non-sponsored promoter ever for Lululemon.
Oh, dude,
Yes, sir.
I know. I listened. And I have a funny story, because I'm like, I got a story to tell. 2014, Lululemon decides they want to change the way that they support their ambassadors. And they don't want to say that it's a sponsorship. They want to have like a support fund for you to go, so they would list, okay, what does it cost for you to pay your rent, your weightlifting, your yoga, to self-care, all these things. We listed it out, it was like 50 grand a year. They're like, okay, we'll sign a 4-year deal, 50 grand each. Me and my partner each got 50 grand. And we were the first athletes ever to have financial support. We were like the guinea pigs, because my partner before, who played in the Olympics in London, wore it for free. They wore it for free because they just didn't have a sponsor. And they're like, we'll wear it.
Yeah, why not?
Dude, it was insane. So we go into Canada, meet the owner. At that time, it was the guy Chip, and we have to walk a mountain and talk to him about it. And just like, he just does this to everyone, right? Where he's walking this monster mountain and making everyone feel vulnerable and like frail, because you feel like you're going to die. And he's like, so where do you see yourself in 5 years? Are you training hard enough? Like, and I'm like, I can't breathe. I'm going to die. I'm like, this guy's gnarly. You know what I mean? It was crazy.
Can't
That's
breathe, I'm
amazing.
going to die.
But we were the guinea pigs, right? Like, that's what it was. And so that was the greatest support brand to be associated with ever, because they were like, what can we do to help you? Aside from this support that we're giving you, what else can we do? And it was like, bro, you give me a card with, $2,500 a month in Lulu gear. My wife was now staying married to me. Thank you. Like, should not, you know what I mean? Like,
she got those Wonder Under tights. She's
dude,
good.
it was the greatest thing ever for our marriage. I was like, this is yours, take it, So, but like having brands like that involved is so huge when they want to make it easier for you to be successful, and then also help you and pursue things outside of just playing. It's crazy. So Lulu, I'll put a good word in for you guys. Yeah,
Oh.
I gotcha. Yeah.
I
Michelle, if you're
I
listening,
did not know that.
Michelle, if you're listening, we got to talk to Rob and Ben. Let's get them dialed in.
Did we talk about how you bought my whole wardrobe at Lulu?
We have
Did you
maybe
have on the
I don't-
podcast?
I don't.
So basically, I think it was earlier this year, right?
I bet you I could tell the story, because I think you told it. Like, you're a minimalist. You showed up with almost nothing. You wore one
This is
thing
our best
maybe.
podcast
Dude,
listener ever.
Yeah, this is
Listen,
impressive.
When you're a nerd in your own sport, and then you find a sport you like to play more, because I'm on that. Well, because I'm on that toddler where I'm learning to walk, and I'm like, now I can start to run. It's so fun having
It's
the
such a high, right?
competition experience, but then learning so quickly.
Yeah.
Dude, it's amazing. And I'm like, I'm listening to every one of your podcasts. I'm like on forums. I'm like just a total nerd.
It's the best.
He showed up and bought you a whole wardrobe, and now that's all you wear.
Yes.
I know. He
Simple, elegant,
Yes.
one thing
Classy.
for every occasion. Like,
Oh, dude, I wear the
minimalist.
pants to church.
Yeah.
And then they came with a button-up finally. I'm like, shirt,
Lulu?
tie, shirt,
Lulu.
underwear. I mean,
Lulu?
all head
Lulu.
to toe.
Lulu.
Head to toe Lulu. The spandex, the shorts. I mean,
yeah.
it's
This is a
unbelievable.
Lulu commercial now.
It is. You're welcome, you guys.
So last night, I don't do this often, but last night Benjamin made me go to a restaurant where I could not wear my Lulu.
They,
Oh my
they
gosh.
had a dress code, and it was like dress pants, which I wore Lulu because I had dress pants, but he's like, I don't do belt loops. I was like,
I don't like
Rob,
belt
you
loops.
need
I like
one
joggers.
pair of Lulu. I'm telling you, they're super comfy, and they still
I know.
look like dress
You
pants.
actually bought me the dress. The
You're
slacks.
welcome, and then you gave them away.
I
the
just-
ABC pants?
Yep.
I just don't.
Anti-ball crushing.
I just like.
They have
I
the
like
greatest
joggers.
name ever that no one knows.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, it's so good.
Nobody knows what ABC means, but you're welcome. Now you know.
It's amazing.
So
Yeah, you got to have the belt loops, because all you do is throw a belt in, you put your dress shoes on or your black Jordans, and you're ready to go.
I think I lean more to the direction of if I have to have belt loops to go somewhere, I don't want to go there.
It does feel weird.
I don't like it.
I mean, it's a
But you enjoy
whole
that
nother
stuff.
level. You're like really ramping up from an elastic maybe with a tie
Exactly.
to wait, a button. I have to have them fitted so they don't fall down, and then a belt because I have to tuck my shirt in. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
I used to fold my shirt under at church when I was a kid and duct tape it to make it look like it was folded. That's how lazy I was. So I know how you feel.
I love it.
I know how you
That's
feel.
a cheat code for
Yeah,
everybody.
Right.
back
You're
home.
welcome. Right.
I just love that he's a total nerd about pickleball.
Oh,
It's so
dude.
great.
It's insane.
The parallels, I knew there were parallels, but like not to this extent. Like in terms of you had multiple pro tours,
Yeah.
we're going through the same thing, the Olympics deal, but even like the partner thing,
Yeah.
the strategy stuff, like
The players union, it
it's
just goes
dude,
on
it's
and on.
it's eerily similar.
It's
silly.
like watching
It's just silly.
a child grow up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I help it? Like, what can I
Yeah.
do? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Guys, I did this before.
yeah,
Listen
I've been
to
here.
me.
Okay, hold on. You need an
You're
agent,
like
but
Back
not
to the
one that's gonna.
Future.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm like Doc, like showing up. Party.
I have all the answers. Just listen to me.
Going through the trash of banana and apple. Just change how the whole end flux capacitor works. I can just go wherever I want now. Let's go get the almanac. Oh my gosh, dude, it's crazy. It really is, and I think because I'm so fired up on it, I'm such a nerd about it, is because, like I said, going and playing at the like highest level ever in my sport for such a long time, and also reaching a point where being physical is like a big part of it. Where in pickleball, I'm still extremely physical because I don't have to jump. I can run around and because I'm the defender, I'm the little guy on the beach. I got to run around and scoop balls and play defense and have guys just blow me up, as, like hitting balls as hard as they can, or hit like a soft line shot over the block on their way up, and I got to like hurry and run and lay out and scoop it. Like I got to deal with all those different speeds and intricacies of the game. The pickleball feels so much like home, but like this, almost like I get to be a phoenix, like I've been burned and I get to like rise again and learn and like take everything I know and apply it to this new thing that is so similar and I love.
So
so
awesome.
cool.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh,
You're not going to be the little guy in the pickleball court.
Yeah, that's the goal, is not to be the little guy,
Yeah.
but play like the little guy.
I would never have guessed you were the little guy on a volleyball court. That's interesting. So you're
Yeah.
more of the defender.
I started as a blocker, and I realized my ceiling internationally was going to be, that was my goal, was of course to go to the Olympics and like be consistently a good player. And I was like, look, my ceiling as a mid-range blocker at 6'6" is only so high, where as a 6'6" defender who can transition almost any set, that's where the value is.
Yeah.
I might get half the digs, but I'm putting them all the way.
Once again, another
Right side player
eerie
type deal. It's
similarity to
stupid.
pickleball. It's
Yeah.
so stupid how these things are. I'm just like, it's a very high value to be a very good right side player right now. Like I'm a left side player,
yes. Yeah.
and then I was like, Rob, you need to you're a left side player right now, but what's valuable is being a right side player right now,
Yes.
and that's what you need to do.
Yes, and that's
So-
what I've done, and that's all I'm training.
You're a right side
Because
player.
I heard you talk about it.
It's true though.
You're a
yeah.
volleyball right
And
side player.
I played so much ping pong. The backhand just feels more
Uh-huh.
natural.
Uh-huh.
But the forehand's more like I have a harder time where I can like flick that.
Yeah, I'm just imagining in like, I don't know, 10 years in pickleball where it's just so defined as right side, left side. Like you
Yes.
train exclusively
Yes.
to one, and right side has all these roles that are so defined, just like volleyball has.
It
And
100% will be.
Because right now everyone's like, oh, you just play 50-50. Center line,
Yeah.
just play your side. Like, no.
No.
Wrong.
It's actually crazy that it should always be a stack. As the
always.
games evolve,
Always.
why
It
would you
has
not?
to be.
Why would you? It's interesting.
Well,
It really
that's how exactly how beach is. You are you're a right side player or you're only a left side player, and the only time you switch is in transition if something scramble play happens.
Yeah.
And everyone at the top's got good enough tools to be comfortable on both, but they're nasty on one.
Yes.
And you're like, and now you're worried about that, and I feel anxious when I have to play you because I know you're nasty at that side.
Yeah.
So now the stress is already on me, not you, and I'm like, all right, now how do I add elements to where I can like bounce it back to you? Well, I'm going to train where I can get Rob because he's comfy on the right. Dude, and that's a whole different world.
It's
It's like
so
an
funny.
evolution
Yeah,
of the
it's-
game.
Once again, just something people just don't even know. Because like if I'm like thinking 10 years from now, what's going to be like an optimal team? It's got to be a lefty and a righty. Like
You have to be.
Lefty is a right side player, righty is a left side. Like it just makes
Because
sense that way.
yeah.
Just flying across, it's so nasty. And
Yeah.
like the fading and like how balls travel on the court, like you get it from volleyball. You just see things on the court and you're like, that makes sense to me. That's how it should be played.
Yes.
But it's not being played like that yet.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then you're like, it's going to get there. And like that's how I see it in pickleball. Like, it's a little hard to explain, but it's just like that's how pickleball should be played. That's how it's going to be played in the future.
Like those battles where you get into this dink battle, and there's that guy that can always find that two-thirds seam down the middle where the backhand guy, if he sees it, he can cut it off sooner, but it's usually the forehand guy's ball, right? But he's also has to play it maybe a little bit later behind, almost like in volleyball we cross when we pass indoors because guys hammer the ball so fast. We don't have time to say yours, mine. We cross paths. And so if you see it and it's yours and it's coming from that angle and spinning in to out, you cut it off and take it. Or if you're the front row hitter, I want to go and take that for you. So there's a lot of ownership. And so you're going to get that type of thing where guys hit that smooth winner just like right off my left hip where I feel like it's yours because you're the forehand. I'm like, that's yours, dude.
Yes.
You're going to start seeing backhand guys absolutely own that. And you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Oh, it's so nice.
Like it's going to shift 2 feet and you'll be like, thank you. Finally, I got a guy that understands how it should be.
Yes, I just
run.
love it when angles work out. Like I play with my brother a lot, and just the angles, like when you're that used to playing with somebody and you understand where you should be at the court at all times. It's like when he cracks back, and I'm like, yes.
Yes.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's what I want.
Right. $100 every time you do that. Yeah. Exactly.
At a kid. But
That's rad.
It's pickleball is just headed on that same trajectory. That's just really cool to see because it's obviously just going to get so much better. Like all the players, you're not going to get more talented, more skilled, but people will figure out the game more because I'm sure just like volleyball, people just were simply not even doing the correct things at some point a while ago, right?
Or
like
watching
you were
film.
still figuring stuff out.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's still developing, just like pickleball is developing rapidly, which is, I think, one of the coolest things about the whole sport, just from an analysis perspective. He calls me a nerd or a geek all the time, but I totally am.
It's the evolution because you're going to start getting people filming and using. We have this thing called Data Volley. There's multiple softwares where they'll take 1,000 of your, let's say, backhand sharp dinks where you carve it or that same move and you flip it line. And I'm going to watch 1,000 reps and they categorize the zones and they're going to code it while they're watching it, and then they're going to give Rob and say, this is the percentage of what happens in these scenarios. This is what it's going to be. And you're going to have 1 or 2 point advantage now
100%.
Having that on him. And now everyone's doing that to you, to
or
every
I know
player.
that you know. And
yes.
I just do the other thing.
Exactly.
I'm going to hand you that data.
Right.
I'm going to present you with the data. I will give you that data happily because
And
I'm
then
just
you
going to
quote
do the other thing.
Then you quote Mike Tyson. Well, everybody has a game plan until I punch him in the face.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Until you take a speed up in the throat, everyone has a game plan.
No, but
That's
you're
rough, man.
You're right. Analytics are going to be coming for
Oh,
sure.
it's huge.
It already is, but it's in baby steps right now, I think.
We don't want to hold you too long, but
You're
just to kind of wrap.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a bunch of different ways pickleball might go moving forward.
Yeah.
But based on your experience with volleyball, what would you say the best path forward for pickleball is?
I'd say developing a youth pipeline. USA Volleyball supports their national teams 100% through the youth programs. You get your high performance, they also travel, but then you're just being associated and registered through like a USA Pickleball, right? Like everyone has to have their number and subscription number or whatever it is. Developing youth programs, tournaments, clinics, camps, and like a coaching form, like a legitimate one, not the one that the random dude from South Carolina has been playing for 30 years, and the game isn't like that anymore. And you're like, really, Carl's running the USA
They're
event?
ancient.
Exactly. They're not at the peak of the game that's evolving nonstop.
Yeah.
Having like a good template to teach these kids, and then like I know right now my kids would all sign up to be a part of that pipeline and program, and then that would eventually support you guys on the national team, which eventually goes to the Olympics. So I think having that grassroots, which pickleball it's already there.
Yeah.
Now it's just getting the youth to do it. I think that's massive, and so I think that's the direction that would help evolve. Right, is getting the youth involved so that you're getting talent younger. You're getting more of it. You're getting world tour players playing now because they're seeing it more with you guys, like we talked about, like protecting yourselves as players and understanding that in order to be at the top, you have to devote yourself. You have to be all in.
Yeah.
And right now, not everyone's all in,
Yeah.
but they're so close,
On the verge.
that I think giving more athletes the opportunity to be all in would be so much better for us as people watching the game.
Yeah.
It's better.
Yeah, yeah.
Could you, you imagine that? I can guess that very few players are doing it full time. The others are working and then playing a lot, but not able to just rest enough and do all the things they need to do. Once you have that, it's just going to be all time.
Everyone is still playing at suboptimal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's the barriers. We've talked about the barriers before. Barriers are quite high. I don't know how it is with volleyball, but entry fees are very expensive. So if you want to play 3 events at the pro
even
division,
being able to navigate, like we've talked about this before, we take it for granted, but being able to even navigate, like how to go to what tournaments and how to sign up and how to get partners, like all that,
Dude,
you
it's a
like
nightmare.
literally need a guide or you're not gonna do it right.
You have to have a travel agent, a PR agent, like a
Really?
everything all like dialed in, because it really is a circus, and you get caught up in just trying to register for events and who's playing with who and what's happening. What? Wait, we're late. Wait, late registration. Well, I thought we signed up for that. Like,
No, it's wild. Even today, I was looking this morning at breakfast. I was like, "Am I signed up for nationals?"
yeah.
And then I look and I see my name on the list, but I don't see like.
Well, I tried. I
if I'm in
signed you
men's
up.
doubles. Thank you, Casey.
I was like, maybe you'll play with me.
So, but yeah, it is a circus.
It is, and that's just time away from understanding how to get better and utilizing those things. And I mean, that's the trajectory you guys are on. Sponsors, there's going to be more money. There's going to be more events. It's going to be better and better. But eliminating registration. Like, sign me up for the year, and then I just pick who I want to play with.
Yeah.
Even if I can prepay for the whole year and then say I'm not playing in that, dude, you can keep half my money.
Yeah,
That's
make
fine.
it an easy game.
Just let me do it. Like, boom, it's done, and then
For
I can show up.
What are your registration fees like for?
They're $100 a person, so $200 a
Okay.
team for every event.
So that's pretty similar.
And so it's like that pays for, like they say, the referees and the catering and the food. But we also have that you guys need, kind of have. Like, we have a separate players tent with security. You need a safe place away.
Yeah.
And it's always attached to our therapy. So you have an amazing match and you're on a side court that's not stadium. It'll take you 40 minutes to get to your court because you don't want to say no to the 12-year-old who worships you. Like,
right.
I was like, dude, I have to approach this as like, this is the only opportunity I'm going to have in my life to be cool. Like, I can't be like, no, bro, I got a match in 30. I got to go eat a banana and chill in the shade and talk to the other dudes that are playing pro. Like, I'll stay and wait till my match. And I'd hire a coach to be like the bad guy to take me back to the court.
Yeah.
And so, like, having a little bit of like a security blanket for you guys to be able to still focus and be pros and just elevate the pro aspect. Maybe paying for your hotels. Like, they started doing that for us.
Yeah.
They'd pay for our hotels. They would give us flight stipends for like $300.
Yeah.
So our hotel's covered while we're in the event, and we get flight stipend. We still have to register, but like just the little things like that felt
a long
big
way.
for
Yeah,
us.
it
And showing
goes
up
a
in
long
there
way.
gave us towels and gear and sunblock, and we're like, oh, good, I don't have to try to like
Go
fly
to
all my
Walmart
stuff.
the night before. Like,
Dude, exactly. Always going.
It's the little things that really
Dude.
do a lot. It builds up, and I've seen that more and more just recently, like from the PPA. Just like, oh, you gave me a locker and a towel. Like, thank you.
Yeah.
Parking.
Yes. Tennis centers are always the best for us. We go to Cincinnati. We go after one of the opens, and we'll be like, oh, dude, we have air conditioning, TVs. We've got locker rooms and showers and a weight room. Or we play the most epic event ever in the world in Stade, Switzerland, up in the Alps. And it's right after one of their like somewhat major series on like clay.
Mm-hmm.
And we just put sand right on top of it and build the stadium. And you walk
Sick.
around and it's like an aspen in Switzerland. You're like,
It's crazy backdrop.
dude, it's insane. You ride a bike up to a waterfall. There's like a homemade cabin with this family that runs it, and they're feeding you, they just made cobbler the night before. And there's families out there just with like the huge hay, like the sickle or whatever, like chopping hay down and bundling it. You're like,
Where am I?
this is unbelievable.
That a movie.
But you would never get that. Like, it'd be so hard to do that if they weren't paying for our hotel fees, if they weren't
Right.
helping us get there.
Yeah.
And see, and that's another evolution. I'll be short with that. But once there is an Olympics and national team, you get funding and support and insurance from the national team. They try to supplement. The Pro Tour should have done that, though. That's the problem, is because we have more opportunity to play at home all the time. So it's like that's another thing that could be added on. The support to make it more of a, maybe that league idea is something where you get a salary, no matter if you win or not, you show up and you're on Team Franklin, and you get, $5,000 a month to show up to these 2 events a month throughout the summer.
Yeah.
And then if you win, you get X amount on top, and then your bonus structure involved, and then you re-sign. Dude, that stuff's so fun.
Yeah.
Like, once that, and I know that's 100% coming for you guys, having all that stuff in place is going to be so rad.
Agreed.
It's going to be cool. You'll be all Lulu'd out, and you're like, paid cash for it. I can afford
Thanks,
it.
Casey.
I can afford it.
I didn't have to ask for, like, an ambassador code.
Babe, I made it.
Yeah.
I was like, guys, I get 25% off right now. I'm
Yeah.
a Sweat Collective member. Okay.
Yeah, I try to buy stuff. He goes, no, I'd get 25% off.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Such a big deal. He's more proud of that than winning.
Oh, 100%.
Then the 11-0 against Jay. Yes, we got one more in.
5.
Yes.
5.
But you did blow 8-3 lead.
Yeah, but that's okay. It's still 11-0.
You still won.
We could have just ended things on a Lulu note. Rob, why'd you have to? Guys,
Just helping you pursue perfection.
So
Oh,
these guys,
okay.
you guys
Thanks, Rob.
look behind you here. This kid in the blue shirt, he showed up because I did this video where I told these solo reps that I kind of helped run social media for. I'd give them $100 if they could dig me. This kid rides by and goes, "Hey, is that still open?" So he's here for me to hit at him for $100 if he can dig me.
I love it.
We should do
That's
that in
awesome.
pickleball. Like, hey, an overhead. If
Yeah.
you can reset,
Not
if you
Cassidy.
can reset 1 or 2 overheads from me, I'll give you $100. Like, it's
That would-
basically impossible.
That's a
Yeah.
good video to do.
That is a good video.
Yeah.
Can we make it Ryder so I can just hit him in the
Oh
chest?
my gosh, yes. No, Preston, like the number
Oh,
one
yeah.
spike ball player in the
Oh,
world.
he's like, I can dig anything.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm
Yeah,
gonna cut
that
right
seems
to
like
the
a
chase.
Preston thing to
Right.
say.
And then we make, oh wait, it's not Preston anymore, and then Ryder steps in. And that's how we get him.
He's like, guys, I'm filming you. Why are you being mean to me?
Right, right, exactly.
Oh, that seems like a perfect note to end it on.
Oh, it's amazing.
Okay, bye.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Later.